Switch it up. We can switch it up. We can switch it up. Switch it up like it's about to go up. Break them like internet. Goofies run up. We leave them in the dead.
You say, okay, I have a lot of money, but you have no money unless you take profits.
When the first ever spot ETF was created for gold 10x.
And the only thing I really knew was Bitcoin at the time, so I just invested very heavily into that. Rode it all the way up.
What's up?
My name is Jeff. Even the creators have said it's going to be the predecessor of CBDC.
What that taught me was that I need to be self-sufficient.
A solid DCA investment strategy, and pretend the red sell button doesn't even exist.
We about to go up like.
Shalom, brethren. All right, we're live tonight. We are live, boys. Thank you so much for joining. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the GOP primary debate that occurred on Wednesday night while we were doing the live stream with Walrus. We're also going to be talking about Ethereum. More wallets have been holding Ethereum than Bitcoin in recent trends. We're also going to be touching on the Biden crypto tax plan that has been proposed. Thank everybody so much for joining us live. If you guys can make sure you go down into the description, make sure if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. You guys will find our Telegram channel in the description. Make sure you guys join our Telegram and make sure you guys follow us on all the social medias. With that being said, thank you guys so much for joining us live tonight. Agent Jay, what's going on, buddy? What you been up to and what you got cooking?
What is up, guys? You know me, man. Same shit, different day. Working on my charts, working on my business. I did go on a small little vacation last week. If you guys noticed, I was not present for the last show on Sunday. It was my best friend Ray's wedding, and so he dropped out on me kind of last minute, and I flew all the way over to New Jersey to be his best man. And, just spent some time. I haven't seen these guys since like 2016. So it's been quite a while, right? But these are my best friends and I grew up with them. They were like, Ray was actually the first friend I made here when I started school in America. We were the shortest kids in the class, right? I don't know if they still do it now, but when I was in middle school, every single morning they made each of the classes line up outside of the school buildings, right? We'd greet the principal, we'd recite the Pledge of Allegiance because we actually still knew what the Pledge of Allegiance was back then, not like these kids nowadays. And then, they lined us up by height order. And then me and Ray were the shortest in the group because, we're Filipinos, right? We're like short, little stubby dudes. He was the first friend I made, and we've been best friends ever since. That was like way back in 2000. Yeah, that was in 2000 because I moved there during 2000. And so I flew out. He finally got married, so he wanted me to be his best man, and celebrated him and his new wife. And we did a lot of dancing, man. Because when we were growing up, we used to do it's not country line dancing, but Filipinos have their own version of line dancing, right? It's like they take all this like pop culture music and like choreograph different different dances to them. So we did a lot of that growing up, right? That was kind of like our club scene. We went line dancing. And there was a lot of line dancing during this celebration. So that's what I've been up to. But other than that, man, nothing too much different. Working on my charts, working on my business, trying to accumulate as much capital as I can to throw at this market. Because my goodness, these prices are getting good. And I'll go over it a little bit more when we do TA. But it seems like this is turning out exactly like how 2019 turned out last cycle, except without the Black Swan event just yet. So throw it over to you, Nate. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, man. Yeah, no, I'm just working. I'm trying to build up as much dry powder as absolutely possible, man. Like these prices are absolute rock bottom, right? Like you're going to be wanting a whole lot of dry powder. Just start throwing it all in there, man. Obviously, you don't make ape it in right away, but yeah, you need to get those DCAs in, man. Like here, I do believe we do have a Black Swan-ish type thing going to be coming soon, just to kind of expand on what you said there, Jay. We do have the pivot that still needs to happen, right? And historically, over 100+ years, after the pivot, all markets crash before they start shooting back up. And, you know, pretty sure crypto is going to be doing the same thing. So we'll be looking at it here. I mean, personally, I think we're never going to see 15,000 Bitcoin again. But at the same time, I think we may drop down possibly right around 1,800 for sure. So it is what it is. And yeah, nice to see you, Niles, there with Mick Ape in. I love you too.
You meant 18,000, not 1,800. Because we would all love to see $1,800 Bitcoin. But
18,000, my bad.
that might be dangerous.
Now that's Mick Ape in right there. Anyways, go over to you, Will.
Well, hello. I'm just chilling up here in Indiana right now, finishing up this. We've been installing an FM antenna on a tower. Boring stuff, climbing up in the sky, hanging out, having fun, getting high. Life is good. But yeah, like Nate was saying, these are some fucking fantastic prices right now. I just recently sold a firearm, and so that's a nice big old chunk of change in the DCA powder bowl there. So that was pretty cool. Just buying Hex, buying Pulse, buying all the Richard Hart ecosystem tokens. I bought some Chainlink for the first time. The price was looking good, and I was like, fuck it. I'll give this Sami coin a shot. We'll see how it goes. But that's what I've been up to. Next, I will be heading over to New York, through Ohio and Indiana, and I think a little bit of Pennsylvania and stuff. So if anybody is out that way, hit me up on Telegram. This is your last chance for me to swing by and get a little interview going for the DGen Roundtable. Not part of the show, but like a little side interview thing. But that's what I've been up to. Mr. Willie B. Long, what you up to, man? How's Maine?
Yeah, man. It's been nice up here. I was actually swimming in the ocean today, doing a little boogie boarding in the surf there down York Beach. But yeah, man, just been keeping up with what's going on in the market, every day, and just trying to really put in, hours and hours of time, just consuming content and trying to make sense of it all. And I'm still putting in bullets, weekly into RH ecosystem and getting some great prices. So I'm feeling good about it, and just having a little fun on the side. But, I think that with Ethan, Bitcoin obviously lead the market. Yeah, like Nate was saying, there's whatever is going to happen later this fall, it's going to affect all the other ecosystems and the altcoins as well. So we could be in for a little bit of a roller coaster ride, but I think we're all prepared for that and have strategies in place. And maybe we can get some more great buy opportunities. But then, yeah, I mean, everything looks bullish from where I'm sitting. So
it's interesting. Hey Jay, it's interesting. Real quick, I want to bring this up. Bro. So you brought up black swans, and it's interesting to think about because we're looking at a situation where, what do you think more likely the black swan could be if a black swan were to happen to send those prices way back down again? Do you think it would be more so economic, or do you think it would be more so like, situation involving war with Russia, Ukraine? Like, what do you think? It's scary because both are very palpable, right? So it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if you could give one or the other the head start. I think either one, it's a strong option. It's a strong possibility that if there was a black swan, it could be one of those two. What are you thinking on that aspect?
I mean, to be quite honest with you, so the way that I think of black swan, it's one of those things that you don't expect to see coming out of nowhere, right? And so they would call it an unknown unknown. Right. I actually got that term from it's a book called Never Split the Difference. It's a book about negotiating. So whenever I think the term black swan, I think it's something that we don't know that we don't know. Right.
Donald,
because of things. Sorry, go ahead.
Donald Rumsfeld also mentioned that when he was selling the war in Iraq, but I'll go ahead and I'll let you continue.
I got the book in my shelf over here. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good book on negotiation, like the skill of negotiation in general. So I'll bring it up later so you guys can see who the author is, because he used to work for the FBI. He was the number one. He was one of the number one FBI negotiators here for the U.S. When he was working for the government. But you know, the issues that we have between Ukraine and Russia, and then obviously this cloud that's hanging over the U.S. economy, right? Because of inflation numbers, and because of just in general, we still have a fairly shaky economy. Those things are kind of baked into the cake, right? We obviously don't want a recession to happen, even though some might argue that one already did happen by the standard definition of what a recession is supposed to mean. But we don't want those things to happen, but it's kind of baked into the cake, right? So if it happens, we have the numbers to look at and see, like, okay, well, you know, we were kind of already playing around with that idea, so it's not a surprise that it happened when and if it does. And so I wouldn't really consider those a black swan events. If I were to think of something that could potentially push us downward in terms of price, not just in cryptocurrency, but in the overall markets in general, that might be us locking down again because of the potential of a COVID Jesus Christ. I just pushed us out of the algorithm by mentioning COVID, Android 19. But if they were to lock us down again because of a potential Android 19 resurgence, right? Because surprise, surprise, the US 2024 elections are coming up. So that might push us down. But aside from that, I don't really see anything that could potentially have such a deleterious effect that it would push us down to like a new bear market, or new bear market lows, I should say, like some people are hoping for, right? People are still hoping for $11,000 Bitcoin. I don't foresee anything, even if it's something disastrous, outside of probably World War III, that would push us down to those levels of price for Bitcoin, right? Because I'll go over in the charts later. We're above Bitcoin's realized price, and once price has recovered the realized price and stayed above there, it usually doesn't come back down historically until the next bear market, right? It has a tendency to use that as support if price does come back down there again. So that's my thoughts on it, at least.
I did watch this one Benjamin Cohen video about Ethereum. He was calling it returning home. So, you know, back towards the price range of he was saying $900. Not quite below the previous low, but just above it. That was an interesting take. I mean, you know, Benjamin Cohen, right? He's kind of like the super bear, you know, technical guy. So he's got good arguments for it going back, you know, down that low, or, you know, like you said, returning to more of an accurate representation of its value. But you know, he's in the camp, you know, with that on Bitcoin as well, but he wasn't talking about Bitcoin in that one particular video.
Bro, I don't think so.
What you're talking about, Ethereum then? Like back to 900?
Yeah, talking about Ethereum. Yeah. I don't think Ethereum goes back down that low. I think if Ethereum was to go back down to 900, it would have happened when Bitcoin went down to 15K, right? But after Ethereum switched from proof of work to proof of stake, that significantly hedged any downside that Ethereum might experience. I mean, just take a look at what the price action has done over the past year, right? Every single time some headwind comes and pushes Ethereum's price down, people have a tendency to buy it, right? It's once that transition has finally happened, right? Because people weren't expecting it to happen. They were going to think, oh, it's going to be delayed. Once it actually happened, that helped form such a strong floor for Ethereum that like people aren't willing to sell off their Ethereum as much as they're willing to sell off their Bitcoin and their other alts, right? Whenever Ethereum goes back down, it recovers so fast. I get whiplash, bro, right? It's like Ethereum didn't even I didn't even see that price of 1550 for more than a few minutes, right? During this last drop. It lasted for like a few seconds and then it was gone, right? And now it's hovering around 1650. So people have a tendency to just buy it right back up. Like, so I don't think we're seeing 900 Ethereum, bro. Like, I really doubt it. I really doubt it. Outside of World War III, I don't think that's happening.
I agree. And I've seen that so often where as soon as we get like a really large wick down to a very good price, it's immediately bought right back up. And technically, I've been saying it for a while. Crypto is very, 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 very strong, right? Even with all the FUD that's been happening, all the crashes, and even like the bank crashes, and just all the stuff that's going. You would expect like Bitcoin to drop to like maybe below 11K, right? Just pray it doesn't go any further down. And we're still sitting at the low, being slightly above 1500 or 15,000. It's like, what, really? You know, I've been saying it for a while. As soon as you get something like Ethereum down to $800, bam, it wicks right back up to 1,000. It's nah. I wouldn't be worrying about crypto dropping that much anymore. You know, maybe I'm a bull, maybe I am, but I've been just seeing even in the most bearish sentiments with everything crashing around. You know, everything's burning around you. How it keeps going down, but then as soon as it really drops, it comes right back up. I've seen it over and over and over at this point. I've become bullish just because of that. I don't want it to fail. I want red days, buy more, but yeah, I don't think we're going to be dropping like that again.
No, I don't think so. It's people see the value proposition of Ethereum, right? Everybody wants to build on it. Everybody wants to build on it, and all of these other L1s that are trying to compete with Ethereum, they're like, actually, you know what? I think we're going to make a transition to being an L2, right? They're slowly making a transition in the background because everybody wants to build on Ethereum, right? If Ethereum is the Apple of the cryptocurrency space. Everybody's going to build their decentralized applications on it. Everybody's going to want to build their smart contracts on it. And you know, we spoke about this quite a few weeks back. And the sentiment remains true unless you're going to bring something significantly different than what Ethereum is bringing over. You're just going to be the other L1, right? You're going to be the other L1 that's not Bitcoin, that's not Ethereum, and for some of us, that's not Pulse Chain, right? And so people see the value proposition of Ethereum, and they also see the fact that it's the potential for more volatility there. Right. And so people that missed the boat on Ethereum, the people that missed the boat on Bitcoin are now putting their capital in Ethereum because they see the potential for volatility, the same kind of volatility that Ethereum could potentially experience, like Bitcoin did in its inception. Right. So.
No, that's 100%. That's something that I've been noticing a lot, actually, is forks of Ethereum now. That seems to be the thing. And I find it kind of funny that Pulse Chain launched, basically when this is becoming a fun thing to do now, like the thing to do. But Ethereum at this point, it is that groundwork. It is the foundation. If you're trying to make another foundation right next to the foundation, it's like, what on earth is going on here, right? Yeah, and people ultimately, they're constantly using Ethereum. And the thing about that is that as soon as you fork it and you're creating your own L2s, this is where people really start building on just crypto projects in general, because Ethereum is really expensive to build on, But here's the other thing too, is like when you're looking at, say, meme coins, right? Meme coins, you want to try and get like 100x or whatever. You have to throw in like $100, maybe even $1,000 of a scratcher just to be able to make like actual real money. Whereas you could throw like, say, something like Pulse Chain, where gas prices are super cheap, right? You can just throw in like maybe $10. I've done that a couple of times, got myself $50 out of it. I'm like, bam, holy crap, there we go, right? Small amounts, but also I'm not throwing my life savings away, risking it on something that could potentially rug, which actually Billy's got something on that for today. So that's going to be a fun one. Can't wait to get into that one. But yeah, so Josh, what do we got for today, eh?
Well, I tell you, we're already on the topic, so let's just keep it going for the time being. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're already talking about it, so let's just keep it going. So as of July 2023, the number of Bitcoin wallets grew to 50 million, but the number of Ethereum wallets has risen to 79 million. All right, so there are more Ethereum wallets than, holding Ethereum than Bitcoin wallets are holding Bitcoin. So why is that? You know, is the crypto unit bias, does that have a lot to play into account with that? You know, has Bitcoin just gotten to the point where it's pretty much priced out of the retail investor and it's really only institution now? Or, you know, is it more of a retail swing pushing towards Ethereum because, you know, it's still able to be purchased by, you know, in whole numbers? Or, you know, what's the point? You know, what's the reason? Is the smart contract the next thing that's going to, you know, cause a flippening between Ethereum and Bitcoin as far as the market cap? What are you guys thinking?
Well, I can tell you right now that the way that people view Bitcoin is as gold. I've been trying to be like, hey, you know, let's go back to the old days where Bitcoin is supposed to be peer-to-peer transactions, all that. It's a new type of currency. And I keep coming back to the problem that is there is no inflation of it, right? You can't print more or anything like that. It is what it is. It's gold. Like it's only going to become more scarcer as you go on throughout the years. If I buy one Bitcoin, right, and then, you know, 12 years later, I buy 2 Bitcoins, I have 3 Bitcoins, with 3 Bitcoins less in the entirety of all of them that is able to be in the pool because I'm just holding on forever. That's the way that's how human beings in general are going to act, right? So Ethereum was a whole lot smarter where number one, and it's funny that Bitcoin actually kind of followed Vitalik on this one, but Ethereum made it so that way not only could you continue mining more Ethereum, but you also are able to build on it and then have other coins and tokens, whatever, right, come in, ecosystems come in, and yeah, next thing you know, there's a lot of building going on, right? So instead of like you just have this one place or this one thing, this gold, right, that's already built, it's already there, it's just rare, people want to keep it and hold it. Now you have basically what I would call like a foundation of a house, right? And on the foundation of a house, people are like, okay, well, yeah, it's there, you know, and it's really good quality, so, you know, we want it. But then people just keep building more stuff on it. Next thing you know, we got an entire house with systems going on, new technology and all that. It's comfortable living, right? So it's the evolution, I would say, of what cryptocurrencies ultimately are, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean,
I think.
Ethereum
Go ahead.
it's deflationary, right? Is the word. So from a tokenomics standpoint, I would say, you know, that changed last year where now, you know, it's burning more than it's creating, I believe. There's a net burn to Ethereum now. You know, that seems very, very bullish, you know, as far as it gaining a lot of value moving forward. And also there was another chart I saw that was, you know, the amount of fees that people are paying into all the different networks. And certainly Ethereum was at the top of that list. So it's kind of like, you know, where are the users actually doing their degenning or their investing? And the Ethereum network, you know, is obviously has more activity than all the other networks. So, you know, I mean, it's definitely it seems like a great investment. You know, it was what 3 times more valuable at one point. So you kind of have that benchmark. So it's like a 3x from here of you know, within reason. So I've been looking at it personally as it makes more sense to buy Ethereum than Bitcoin, but that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, for sure. You actually brought up a pretty damn good point there, in that, you know, because there is now a burn function built into Ethereum, that it's going to be extremely good for price appreciation in the future, right? And so there's certainly that. And I think Josh brought up a good point. He talked about unit bias. People tend to want to buy things in whole numbers, right? Even though I think personally, one of the cool things about crypto is you can buy things in a fractionary manner, right? You know, there's not really a lot of ways until tokenization of assets actually become a widespread thing. There isn't really a way for you to buy like 25% of a house, right? Or at least I certainly don't know of a way that you could do that, right? You can't buy 25% of a piece of land, right? And so people have this unit bias where they like owning one whole thing of something, right? And even when Bitcoin was 15,000, that's 15,000. You know, the average American, unfortunately, can't even cash a $500 check, right? They barely have anything in their savings, especially with what happened in 2020 and 21. That significantly depleted the savings of most Americans, unfortunately, right? And those paltry $1,000 stimulus checks didn't really do much to help those people who had to really dig down into their savings just to get by, right? A lot of these businesses went out of business and will never reopen, right? And so the unfortunate reality is, even when Bitcoin was 15,000, nobody could buy a whole Bitcoin, right? But when Ethereum went down to 800, mid-tier investors were seeing that. And you're like, wow, 800 is certainly a lot more manageable than when it was at 45 or 4,900, right? So I can go ahead and buy a whole Ethereum. So I certainly think that the unit bias has a lot to do with that. Once again, I mentioned earlier that just by virtue of Ethereum being more volatile, people are going to speculate a lot more on it, especially when they're done speculating with Bitcoin, right? I think people have recognized the pattern that once Bitcoin has made its moves, people have a tendency to go down the risk curve, and people have a tendency to go down to Ethereum first, right? After they've made some of those gains in their Bitcoin, they're going to funnel some of that capital from Bitcoin back into Ethereum, right? Because they're going to want to ride their price appreciation there. And so just by virtue of Ethereum being a lot more volatile, people are going to want to speculate on it because it means that they're going to be able to get more gains, right? On the article that Josh pulled up, they made a mention that even though Bitcoin is a lot older, and that's what everybody knows, right? Over 4,500 wallets hold about 50% of the total amount of Bitcoin that we have, right? That's circulating, right? That's been mined. So 50% of the Bitcoin is held by 4,500 wallets, right? So what that basically means is, even if one of those wallets sold off a considerable amount of their Bitcoin, it's not going to do a lot to the price, right? There has to be a significant amount of people, right? A whole market of everybody selling to push the price of Bitcoin down by a few percentage points, right? The liquidity is so thick in those pools that involve Bitcoin that it's going to take a significant amount of downwards pressure in order to push that price down, right? That's why we talk about, that's also one of the things that you have to consider when thinking, all right, is it possible, right? What's the probability of Bitcoin going back down to 15,000 or 11,000? Right. And when you consider when you consider the fact that that liquidity pool is so thick that it takes a significant amount of sell-offs in order to push the price of Bitcoin down. And we know that over time, the people who hold Bitcoin have a tendency to hold it for a very long time and not sell, regardless of what the hell is happening macro-wise, right? It's becoming a lot more obvious that it's going to take a significant amount of downward selling pressure in order for us to see $11,000 Bitcoin, or even $15,000 Bitcoin, or even Bitcoin below $20,000, right? Versus Ethereum, right? Ethereum, the 50% of Ethereum that's in circulation currently is held by what, 50? Correct me if I'm wrong, Josh. How many wallets in total hold 50% of the Ethereum supply? It's significantly less than 4,500. It's less than 100.
Yeah, 131 wallets.
Oh, there you go. It's
account for half of the
131.
supply.
There you go. And so if one of those or a few of those 131 wallets decided, you know what, I'm going to transfer all of this Ethereum from my wallet onto a centralized exchange. And if you guys have been paying attention to the news cycle over the last week or so, you've noticed that a lot of big players have been moving their Ethereum from wallets onto centralized exchanges. And then people are speculating, oh, you know what that means? When people move that kind of money around, it must mean that they want to sell, right? So even if only a handful of those wallets decided, you know what, we're going to sell off, that's going to push the price down. It's going to have a much bigger effect on price movement downwards than if a few big holders of Bitcoin did that, right? Because the amount of Bitcoin that's in circulation, right? 50% of the total supply of Bitcoin that's in circulation is held between a much bigger amount of wallets, right? So it needs it needs more of those people to sell to push the price down. And we know the Bitcoin hodlers, right? If you go explore the on-chain metrics for long-term holders of Bitcoin, you know that these people do not sell, right? And so it's going to be very difficult for you to get any kind of volatility with Bitcoin. Of course, we're still going to expect some of that volatility, right? Especially as these bigger institutions come in, right? Because they kind of compare Bitcoin to gold, right? It's the asset that they're most comfortable investing in, because in a market full of extremely volatile assets, Bitcoin is the less volatile. So they're going to invest in that first. You're going to experience some price volatility to the upside, but as opposed to the 2 or 3x that you might get with Bitcoin this bull cycle, right? That's, fairly conservatively speaking, you're probably going to get a 2 or 3x from the all-time high of Bitcoin, right? With Ethereum, a 10x from all-time high is probably not out of the picture.
You guys say that it's a fair statement to make that Bitcoin is like the gateway drug to crypto? That's how I got it personally. Bitcoin was my first thing, and then that brought me to where I'm at now, being very heavily invested in Ethereum and the Richard Heart ecosystem, and other things of that nature. Would you guys agree that Bitcoin is generally people's first, like when people go to a swimming pool and they want to see if like the water's cold, the first thing they do is they dip their toes in, and then they go splash around and have fun with anything. My personal opinion is that Bitcoin is the gateway drug.
Yep.
The way that people get in.
Yep.
I would so I kind of agree with that as far as Bitcoin goes, but I would actually kind of look at Doge being the gateway drug, right?
Oh, that's pretty, yeah. Fuck,
I mean,
yeah.
it's very popular, right? It's talked about. It's a meme. It's a pulpers, right? People love it. It's kind of interesting. I saw, so Dace had a comment about the gold, and how they basically use gold ETFs to price things in and kind of hold it where it's supposed to be at, aka manipulation, right? Yeah, gold ETF. There we go. Right. So yes, I would. That is correct. And what I would say is I would agree with him that the Bitcoin ETF is probably going to do the same type of thing. At this point, it's already stated that, hey, the price is very not volatile, exactly as Jay was saying, and so we're going to be trying to manipulate this now, so that way us, the large institutions, are going to be keeping all that money, right? AKA power, because money is power ultimately. Here's the thing that I'm looking at though too. They're making a lot of moves as far as the Ethereum network goes. Ethereum network has the most amount of users already, and they haven't even done all their magic tricks yet with the BTC side, right? The Bitcoin side. And so I can tell that what the government's going to be doing here really, really soon is they're going to be cracking down real hard on trying to get all the Ethereum ETFs and or multiple mutual funds is in crypto, right? They're going to be starting to really throw all that stuff in there very quickly, and that's one of the reasons why in the perfect storm theory we're thinking it's got to be either this cycle or next cycle where we're going to get a super cycle, simply because they're going to be trying to manipulate things like crazy. Things run so fast. Robinhood, that's hilarious, but things are going to be moving so quickly in crypto that there's going to be a lot of missed stuff from the governments, because how governments runs. Hilarious, Niles, hilarious. But yeah, so, but the way that the governments are going to be moving way too slow for crypto, they're going to make a lot of mistakes, and these mistakes, people like us are going to be coming in. We're going to be seeing these things, right? And we're going to just take off on them, and there's going to be a huge amount of action going on on the Ethereum network, with all the L2s being used because cheaper, right? Building new network, or building new what do you call that? Just new stuff generally, new projects and all that. I really see a super cycle happening either this round or next round.
What's really interesting is in the traditional market, it is usually institutional money that paves the path forward for successful businesses, successful corporations, and whatnot. And then retail money through either a 401k or through retail investors, will then continue to add money in. It seems to be the inverse in crypto almost, if you think about it. So when Bitcoin first came out, there was no institutional money in it, and it was all retail. You know what I'm saying? And then only 2 cycles later, did Bitcoin start to really see some institutional money. And you think of the same thing that happened with Ethereum. Ethereum comes out in 2015. 2017 comes around and Ethereum just blows through the stratosphere. It becomes super strong, and that's all in the back of the retail investor, right? And it wasn't until this last cycle that even, various institutions started even considering Ethereum, in addition to Bitcoin. So it's interesting how those two, it almost seems to be inverted on the crypto side. Yeah. So at what point do you think we can safely say that Ethereum could be a blue chip? Do you think it's already at that point? Do you think it still needs to complete this cycle? This topic got brought up in one of our Telegram calls that we had a couple weeks ago. And I think what I said at the time is, in order for a coin to be considered a blue chip, it has to successfully sustain gains through 2 full cycles, right? So if Ethereum came out in 2015, all right, the first cycle that it went through was the last full cycle that we just had. And then this would be the confirming cycle as well. Do you guys have any different thoughts on that? And do you think Ethereum is already at that blue chip level? Do you think it still needs another cycle or 2? What are you guys thinking on that aspect?
Well, I think everybody's already building on it, right? That's where all the fun is being had. Right? I think that's why it's the most, per this article, it's the most traded cryptocurrency on the market. And the reason for that is because everybody's using the Ethereum network, right? That's not to take any credit away from Bitcoin, but the fact of the matter is people are going to want to play in the playground where everybody else is playing, right? And so I think that, yes, by some definitions, a token has to last 2 full cycles, and it has to survive those 2 cycles, right, in order for it to be considered a blue chip. But I think Ethereum, I don't think it would be such a unreasonable assumption to say that Ethereum, it would be, at least I consider it, certainly a blue chip, right? Because everybody's using it and everybody wants to build on it. And you actually made a very interesting point there, right? Where or observation, I should say, that traditionally it's the traditional markets that invest into something first and then the retail follows, but it's kind of the opposite here, right? And I think that speaks to actually the spirit of Bitcoin, right? Because it's the people's money, right? Bitcoin came out because people were tired of what was happening in the traditional space. They were tired of big companies, banks, especially with what happened during the 2008-2012 financial crisis. They were sick and tired of their money and their assets being devalued because of the nonsense that's going on with our federal government, right? Because they've chosen to move off the gold standard and just print money with reckless abandon. And so people wanted, I think the reason why retail came into Bitcoin and why it was adopted so quickly, right, and why it's had this significant staying power is because people know that it is the currency that cannot be manipulated by the government, right? And even though we have these very large institutions coming in trying to accumulate big bags of Bitcoin so that they can control the price movements of that asset, they still cannot change the fact that overall that money is decentralized, right? It is anonymous to a significant degree, and they cannot control you the same way that they can with fiat. Because with traditional fiat, right, the US dollar that's held in a lot of these banks, right? If the US, like these banks are regulated by the US government, and all it takes is a single call from somebody in, the Oval Office or maybe somewhere else, right, to tell them, hey, you gotta stop doing this, you gotta stop doing that. You can't let people transact in this way. You gotta freeze this person's account because we don't like the way that they're protesting. And then you can't use your money, and you can't move your money, right? You've lost freedom of speech to a degree. You've lost freedom of movement to a degree, right? You've lost the freedom of association to a degree, and losing all of those rights are not good things, right? And that cannot happen when you transact via cryptocurrency, right? If the government chose to freeze somebody's bank accounts, but they have a significant amount of Bitcoin in their wallet, they can send money, they can transact, especially at the rate that these retailers, and to a significant degree, the rest of the world outside of the United States is starting to adopt cryptocurrency, right? They cannot stop your ability to transact, to move, to spend, to associate with people, because they're freezing your ability to use your money that you rightfully worked hard to obtain, right? And so that's why I think the opposite happened with crypto as a whole, right? Why retail funneled into crypto first before the traditional markets and government started adopting it. It's because people saw the value in a currency that cannot be manipulated by governments, even if they hold a significant amount of it, right? They can certainly move the price if you hold a large amount of Bitcoin, right? If let's say the U.S. government holds a large amount of Bitcoin, they can certainly influence the price, yes, but they can't stop you from transacting, right? And so that's, I think, precisely the reason why the people adopted crypto as a whole so fast before anybody else did, before any major governments did, because they saw the value proposition in this currency. Thank you, Cassie. Yeah, well, I was just kind of working off what the observation that Josh made. So the credit kind of has to go to him, because it got the wheels turning in my head.
You guys got any final? Oh, go ahead, Nate. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually I did. So Niles actually said something pretty important there, where he specifically was saying, according to what I've said, is that ETH is more of kind of like a light blue. And for the most part, I'd say that's true. But when you're really starting to look at exactly, and the article that we have here today, what we're talking about is just evidence of it, it really is turning into just a straight blue chip. Everybody is going to be using it. It obviously has the most amount of users already, right? It is, I would say it's definitely a blue chip at this point. You're going to have Bitcoin, ETH, right? And then, what have you got after that? Everything else that it would be, say, I would maybe put into the category of light blue. It's going to be something like a Polygon Matic, right? Or maybe a Cardano or a Dot, right? Polkadot. It's like they're reliable and they're good and people are building on them and all that. But it hasn't quite proven itself to be like the one, and whereas ETH has definitely proven itself to be the one. So I just kind of wanted to comment on that a little bit.
Hey, Zenith, can we bring up Zenith's comment here? Because this is exactly the thought that was going through my head while I was kind of musing. He says the Canadian trucker protest bank freezing was a very public case for crypto moving forward. It was an opportunity for people to start seeing the cracks shown in the system, right? And that's precisely what happened, right? When they froze all of those truckers' bank accounts, right? And they froze people's ability to send them money. What did people do? Well, we could send crypto, right? And I think that's why a lot of people really resonate. But a lot of folks say that when Richard did the sacrifice, right? And he said, okay, we're doing Pulse Chain as freedom of speech. We're doing Pulse X as a sacrifice for freedom of movement. And they say it's gimmicky. I'm like, no, my guy, it's not fucking gimmicky. Because that right there, what Zenith talked about, that scenario right there, it showed the cracks in the system, right? Because they froze everybody's accounts, right? Not just the truckers, but the people who wanted to help them out because they believed in that movement. They believed in that cause. But guess what? Guess what people had? They had crypto. So they had a way to send money to those people to support that cause. Freedom of movement, freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of transaction. That's why people like crypto. And that's why retail adopted it to the degree that they did before the governments did. Because look, the governments know exactly what kind of threat it poses to them. Let's be serious here. Right? They know exactly the kind of threat that cryptocurrency could have on their ability to control and manipulate. So It's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, you're right, Jay. When I first was getting into cryptocurrencies, I heard about this thing called Bitcoin, and I had somebody just like, or I was doing research and people were talking about it, and I was like, okay, I don't understand any of that because it was just like nerd talk, right? But then I summed it up like I usually do, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's basically fuck you, government. I like it. Let's do it. You know what? Yeah, that trucker movement was actually, that was pretty egregious that the Canadian government did that, you know? And it's what makes me laugh about it is that it didn't matter. They just started sending Bitcoin and stuff, and it's just so funny that we got around that.
All right, Jay, let's go ahead and move into some TA. Does that sound good?
That transition gave me whiplash, bro. But yeah, man, let's go into TA. Let's see what's going on in the charts. We just had the weekly close.
Let's pull up. So while you're getting that pulled up, I'll go ahead and pop this off the screen. But I wanted to get some TA put in there before we continue on because we did kind of just pop into that topic. So let's go ahead and get the TA pulled in. So while you're getting that pulled up, my ex-wife just sent me a message, said my 7-year-old daughter is watching this before going to bed and before starting school tomorrow. So, Elena, I love you, sweetheart. I'll see you in the morning, but make sure you get some sleep, okay? But,
shout out to Elena. Hell yeah.
Josh, I've got the chart pulled up. So whenever you are ready, on your mark, my friend.
All right, let's go ahead and get it. You got it up?
Yes, sir, I do. Okay, so currently we are on day, so let me actually, day 74 of the 60-day cycle. Now, an argument could be made that we had our cycle low here on day 68, right? When we had this wick down to 25,350. This was on Tuesday of last week, right? And so the thing that I'm looking at here and why I'm thinking that we are still in the current cycle is because the bulls definitely tried to push the price of Bitcoin up to a place where it could recover, and so that we would close on a green week, but they got sharply rejected, and we're back down, hovering around the $26,000 area. And if we take our price tool here, what you'll notice is that we're not too far down from our cycle low, right? It only takes a 2.5% downwards move from current prices for us to get a new cycle low. And here's the thing, guys. I know that this is a pretty extended cycle if we do create a new cycle low, right? And so I think it's not abnormal, number one, right? We've had extended cycles before of anywhere between 70 to 80 days. It has happened before, right? Frequently enough that it's not completely rare, right? And the thing is, the current market environment makes it so that if we were to have an extended cycle, it would most likely happen probably sometime next week, right? And the reason why I say that is we just had today's weekly close. And if we go out and zoom here on the weekly chart, right, we closed red last week as well, right? And so the bears did try to reclaim a little bit of momentum, trying to close the week green. But if you see here, we still closed the week red. And so when the markets open next week and throughout of next week, because we weren't able to stop the bearish momentum that we've been having over the past, what is this? We got about 7 weeks here, 7 or 8 weeks or so, right? We don't have a cushion going into next week to stop any bearish momentum, right? Unless we get some really quite bullish news over the next week, we don't have a cushion, right? That we would have had if the week did manage to close green, right? And so if we were to get a new cycle low, I think it would probably happen sometime next week, right? That would bring us to about 80 days in the current cycle, which is, once again, like I said, it's not completely abnormal. We've had extended cycles like that before.
And then what I expect is we're probably going to have a small rally to the upside, right? Because people are not going to be able to resist buying up those prices. But here's the important thing too, right? If we go to the monthly chart over here, so we opened the month of August at 29,221. If we close the month below that, right, and we head into September, closing below that 29,000 area, that is not, I wouldn't necessarily say not a good thing. It is a good thing for us who want to accumulate more coins, but it's a bad thing for the short-term traders who want to take an exit, like who want to exit the market, right? People who have a short-term trading mentality are not going to like the fact that we could potentially close the month red, and we're going to see a lot more downwards price action heading into September. And the reason why I say that is because, well, we have two events in September that could potentially give us more headwind in terms of price. And that is the CPI meeting, that is the CPI print second week of September, and then the federal meeting, the FOMC meeting, third week of September, right? And so if we close below this $29,000 area, right, where we opened the month of August at, then that's not going to do us any favors when we head into September. And if we get a higher CPI print, right, if those inflation numbers are up, if the job market remains strong, that means that when JP on the next federal meeting, he's most likely going to increase the rates once again. Right now, the overall market is pricing in 80% that it is going to hold. He's going to hold the rates. But if the CPI numbers come out higher, significantly higher than expected, and those job markets are still remaining strong, right? I mean, if JP is like, okay, I'm going to raise another 25, and everybody's thinking he's going to hold the rates, that is going to give us a lot more downwards price movement for Bitcoin. Right. And so like some people would call that a black swan. Like I mentioned earlier, I think that's already baked into the cake because guys, the market knows that every single time the market is predicting something, right? In this case, a federal rate, federal JP holding the rates at what they are at currently, but then he says, I'm going to raise the rates to 25 more basis points. That's going to provide a significant headwind onto price. Now, if we take this fib retracement tool from our bear market lows to our most recent high, right? We are currently sitting at that 0.382 level of support, right? On the monthly. And so that 0.382 fib level is trying to hold as support. But like I said, if we close this month red, that is going to set us up for more downwards price action in September, especially if we get a higher CPI print and JP decides we're going to raise the rates another 25 basis points. And so we're only at the 0.382 level here during this retracement. Okay. And anybody knows Elliott wave. Let's actually go here to the weekly, so it's a little bit better to see, right? We have what here? We have a wave 1, a 2, 3, 4, and a 5 wave sequence finish, right? This is going to form your macro wave 1, right? This correction that we have here, this ABC correction right here, this is, I'll go over this with you guys in a little bit. This is called an irregular flat pattern, right? Where this B wave made a higher high than the top of our wave 1 here, right? This correction pattern, we're only at that 0.382 level to make that macro wave 2. And what do we know, right? The folks that are familiar with Elliott wave corrections, right? They know that wave 2s have a tendency to be the biggest corrections, right? It's not abnormal for wave 2s to correct anywhere from, so we have to hit we've already hit the minimum correction, right? For a wave 2, this 0.382 level. Right, but it's not abnormal for a wave 2 to head down to this 0.618 area of price at 21,727. Right now, if 2019 were to repeat itself, let me go out here and zoom out to 2019 really quickly for you guys. Right? Oh, cool. I already have a fib retracement here. right? So this was the macro wave 1 during the start of the 2019 bull market, right? And then this is where Android 19 happened. And what happened, right? During that correction, people were expecting, oh, this wave 2 already hit that 0.618 retracement, right? And so what have we been saying whenever I've gone over the charts over the time course of our podcast here, right? That every single time price heads down to this 0.618 fib level, it is the area of great value, and people have a tendency to buy up this price. And that's exactly what happened. People thought, okay, we've hit that 0.618 level, let's buy. And price was starting to run up to the upside, right? Trying to start that wave 3. But then that black swan Android 19 happened. And what happened to price, right? This 3-week time span over here brought us all the way back down to that 0.786 area of price. Even further down, look at this wick, right? We went all the way back down to $3,800 Bitcoin, right? Because let me tell you right now, if Android 19 if Dr. Jerome didn't create Android 19 in his lab and release them into the public, this would not have happened. I guarantee you, right? This is the black swan that Josh was speaking about earlier on the show. If this did not happen, I have I would have been willing to bet that this would have been the bottom of the wave 2 during the start of that 2019 bull cycle, right? And then we would start rocketing up to that wave 3. But because Android 19 happened, it pushed Bitcoin back down all the way to 3,800 once again, right? Past that 0.786 level, right? So even this was not abnormal, right? And so could we potentially see Bitcoin head back down to this 0.786 level again, this 18,972? Sure, that's a possibility. Absolutely. But is it probable? I personally don't think so, right? I think we mentioned more than enough times that the market has thrown anything that it could possibly throw at Bitcoin, and it has remained pretty resilient, right? And so if this is not the termination point of this irregular flat pattern of our wave 2 here, then what is the next leg down? Well, like I said, that fib retracement, we could certainly head down to this 21,727 level area of Bitcoin, of price, especially if we close the month of August red and we get a rate increase from JP during that FOMC meeting and everybody's expecting a hold. Right, so we're certainly able, we're certainly able to see that price on the chart. Now, as far as anything below that, if you see this green line here that I've had drawn out at 20,308, this is Bitcoin's realized price, right? And historically speaking, every single time price has moved up above that realized price during a bull market, it does not head back down here until the next bear market. If you can see here, right, during the month of March of this year, right, when prices head downwards, right, it went slightly below that realized price, but it was bought up quite quickly. And it didn't last there. You can see here this week lasted only for this wick only lasted for a week and was bought right back up, right? I think that if we were to head back down to this realized price of 20,000, it's probably going to once again only happen during a wick, and it's going to get bought up right back up, right? And so I don't see us heading down any lower than this area of 21,727, right? Now, if we were to do, let's go ahead and remove this so you can see it a little bit better. Let's do a fib extension here from the top of our wave 1 to the bottom of that A wave and pull it to the top of that B wave, right? We've already had that 1-to-1 correction, right? So the downwards price movement from the top of our wave 1 here to the bottom of that A wave is about 20%. And then if we take our price tool, right, it's also made another 20% down, right? So the top of that B wave to the potential termination point of our C wave here it's also another 20% decrease, right? So this is not an uncommon thing to see when you have these correction patterns, right? These flat patterns. Now, as far as where we might go, oh, hold up. I didn't want to do that. There we go. So it is not uncommon for an irregular flat, right, that C-way to terminate at this 1.618 area right here, which is that 21,577, right, which is also around the area of that 0.618 fib level when we do that fib retracement, right? So we have some confluence around this price of 21,000. Right. And so if we were to head downwards, right, if we were to head downwards and this is not the termination point of our C wave during this correction, right, I wouldn't be surprised to see if Bitcoin did head down to this $21,500 area. Right. But before that has to happen, we would have to break down below this major area of support. Right. So this major area of support here, like we've spoken about before, anytime that price comes down to previous cycle highs, right, it will have a tendency to use that as support. It did so here, right? And it did so last week also, right? You see that wick down here, use that prior cycle highs as an area of support, right? And so if we break down below that, right, if we have more downside price action during this upcoming week, right, we're going to have to retest that area of 25,300 once again. And then anything below that, I would say the next area of support that we could possibly see is around here at 22,800, right? But let's focus on this area of 25,300 first. Let's see if Bitcoin can hold that as support before we consider anything below that, right? I'm not even going to talk about potential price targets upwards because we're still in this bearish trend. But as far as like prices to recover, right? If we were to consider a recovery, right, the first thing that I would look for is a recovery of this 0.382 fib retracement fib level from our swing high to our swing low, right? And that's at 27,860, right? If the bulls try to rally and try to recover that price, right, that's the first sign that the bears are trying to move the market in a positive direction and trying to recover. They're trying to recover the price from the bears. Right? So let's focus on those targets first before we even consider anything higher. Because like I said, right now, currently, the bears are in control of the trend, of that short-term trend. And so until we see any sign of relief, I would still say keep your eye on more downwards price action over the coming weeks and over the coming month, especially if we close below where the month of August opened at that $29,000 area for Bitcoin. Shit, that was a lot. That was a lot more than I wanted to say, bro.
You know, one thing, like when you start describing this stuff and you kind of like link them together and all that, it is kind of magical looking at the charts and how you have just months and months of these different price actions, and it's like you can just draw this line of called supports and resistance and stuff, and you just draw this line and you're like, yeah, this is where people tend to like make things go like this, up and down, and all of a sudden it goes like up or it goes down, but you can almost guarantee it's gonna stop at this other spot, and it always does. And it's really scary how a lot of times you can literally just draw a line and then you're like over here, and then later on, weeks later, you see that it hits that line and you're like, oh, okay, it's probably going to go up at that point. And it legitimately does over and over again. It is pretty crazy how technical analysis works. I'm not even going to lie.
It's not an exact science, right? But a lot of this stuff is based on math, bro. And you'd be foolish to ignore the math, and you'd be foolish to ignore the patterns, right? And so that's why we encourage, don't use the TA as your singular method of price analysis, right? And you can't form your investment thesis based solely on TA, but you'd be foolish to not consider it, right? Because anybody who sees this chart can like suss out these patterns. Oh, it seemed like price reacted to this level of support or this level of resistance, right? It's like come on, man. Like what are you saying is it's nonsense. Like, bro, you can look at the chart yourselves, bro.
Yeah, the way that I look at it is it's the mathematics that you can see there, but then that mathematics is a way to, like, when you are out at the grocery store, right? And you're just picking up bread and putting it in your cart and then buying it, right? That right there can be like seen or viewed in another way, which is on the charts, right? And it's just really interesting how everything that you're talking about right there is people physically taking their phones or the computers or whatever and clicking around on stuff and actually moving funds. They went to work for however long, right? They got their checks and then they took some of that money and put it into crypto, and you're viewing it on the chart like that. It's just magical, man. I find it's fascinating. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, another point to think about too is, I mean, it's not magic voodoo. It's red and green candles, you know, and there are different volume indicators, there are different price indicators, but what makes it reliable is the fact that as more and more people come into the space, these tools are used more and more often. So, you know, we saw this, we see this in the stock market, we see it all over the place, that when traders start, I mean, this is what traders do. You know what I'm saying? So these lines that people are seeing, other people are seeing them, and buy orders and sell orders are being placed there and stuff like that. So that's where the magic of it really comes in, is being able to say, okay, well, you know, not only do I see this, but hundreds of thousands of other people that are playing with charts see this. So, you know, there's probably going to be a strong buy indicator here. There's probably going to be a strong sell indicator here. And that's really what brings it all around. So, but great TA, great TA. Anybody on the panel have any other thoughts about the TA before we move into the GOP primary stuff?
Bro, I did have one question for you guys, man. Because I spoke about this in the chat, that because of the current bearishness of the market, right, and how the bears have control, that I've modified my investment thesis. Right now, I'm solely investing in either Bitcoin, Ethereum, or stables, right? Because of the weekly close, and if we close below 29K this August, right, then the bears remain in control. So I'm wondering if any of you have modified your own investment thesis on the short term because of what we're seeing on this short-term downwards trend with the bears having control of the market currently.
Actually, I think we talked about this last stream. I'm buying a lot more ETH right now, a lot more ETH actually, comparatively to everything else. I'm a little bit hesitant to do it, but I'm going to do it anyways. I've got smaller DCAs right now because I got this feeling that we are going to be dropping like really, really big time. We still got that final crash, and so instead of yeeting like almost all of my stuff into the market right away as soon as I'm able to get it in, right, I'm actually just making a lot smaller smaller DCAs. But yeah, a lot of it is going straight to ETH right now.
Not so much me. I mean, you know, I'm a cycle long hodler, so you know, my goal is to purchase at one point and not hit that green sell button for another 2.5, 3 years whenever the market's telling me to sell. So, you know, as I get DCA money into the system, you know, I might decide, okay, you know, I might wait a week or two depending on where we are in the 60-day cycle or what the sentiment is or something like that. But I haven't adjusted my, you know, no, I haven't. I just deploy it and, you know, set it and forget it pretty much.
I have the exact same strategy as I've always had. I dump everything in every single time I get money.
That's pretty simple there.
Yep. Peanut brain, baby. Diamond hands.
Hell yeah, man. I'm in like more of like a wait and see type of feeling right now. I'm just waiting to see what the next few weeks hold or the monthly close, you know, and then look for some bigger deals coming up maybe.
Good stuff. All right, let's go ahead and roll into the first the second story, since we went ahead and led off with Ethereum. But all right, let's go ahead and talk about the GOP Republican presidential debate that occurred and the results afterwards. So CoinDesk.com ran an article. Teflon Don is still the defined front runner for sure. But DeSantis is no longer the number 2. So according to a cryptocurrency betting site, Vivek Ramaswamy has taken the number 2 most formidable position to challenge Donald Trump. And, you know, if you've been paying attention to politics at all over the last year at all, you know, there was a period in time where people thought that Ron DeSantis would have a strong chance at defeating Donald Trump. A strong chance, especially coming out of the COVID-19 stuff that was going on in Florida and all that stuff. And then for whatever reason, you know, I don't know if it was poor campaign decisions that were made, but, you know, something happened with DeSantis. He sort of clammed up, and it seemed that Vivek Ramaswamy went ahead and started taking advantage of every single talk show and every single podcast around. So to me, it's not surprising. To me, you know, Ramaswamy's been putting in the work. He's been putting in the time, getting his name out there. And he definitely earned that middle position on the stage right next to DeSantis. But I want to get y'all's impact. You know, I want to get y'all's viewpoints. Jay, I want to start with you. I know you watched the debate. Was there anything that stuck out to you? Was there anything that said, yeah, you know, Ramaswamy would definitely be a better selection? You know, he definitely would be able to challenge Trump a little bit more. And do these guys even have a chance against Trump? That's what I want to know. So, Jay, I want to kick it with you, and then, you know, let's have a conversation around it with the whole panel.
Bro, like, first of all, I think, you know, I like Ron too, bro. But I think once you found out that Trump was running, you should have. I know that it was your time in the sun, right? The spotlight was kind of on you, and people were kind of putting you on. Well, they had very high opinions of you because of how you handled Florida, right? Especially after Android 19, right? And that's, you know, that's credit that's well deserved. But the unfortunate reality is, Trump is still. He's still fresh in the minds of the overwhelming majority of Americans and certainly Republicans, and still has that majority support. And so as soon as you found out that he was running, I think you should have just like, okay, man, you know I have my time in the sun. I'm still young, right? I still have some time to bide my, I still have a lot of time left, right? To bide my resources, bide my time, accumulate the support that I need. And I'm just going to put my chips on the Trump train. And so that whether he wins or loses this next nomination, right, I can have him on my team when I finally decide to run. Right now, it's not like you can fault the guy for wanting to throw his hat into the race this time around, especially when you're also still very fresh in the minds of Americans of what you did for the state of Florida. So it's not like I can fault him for running with that, right? But personally, I would have been like, okay, man, like, you know, Trump is my guy. Like the overwhelming majority of the American Republican and conservative base still want him to be the president, right? He still has a significant amount of support, despite what anybody might fucking tell you. Trump is still the main guy. And so I'm just going to, you know, I'm going to just take a step back, throw him my full support, and I'm not going to create any friction between me and him, right? I think you've known this man long enough to realize that if you get in his way, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't really matter what kind of prior good relationships that you've had with him. He's going to come after you. Right. And he's going to do it in a petty manner. Right. Like that's kind of Trump's MO. Right. He doesn't care if he's petty. Right. I think that's one of the things that people like about him. Right. Because he just, like, if he doesn't like you, he doesn't like you. Right. And so I think him being adamant about staying in this race and competing with Trump is only going to do him a disservice. Right. Because I don't think he's going to get that kind of support from him if he loses and he decides to run once again during 2028, right? And so I think that was a pretty big mistake on his end. And then now you consider the fact that apparently his campaign is running into some financial troubles, etc. And so it's not looking too promising for him as the potential nominee. And then you throw Vivek into the category, bro. This guy, I'm telling you, I've been listening to a lot of what Vivek has had to say, and one, he's a serial entrepreneur, right? He's kind of like Donald Trump in that sense, where he's a self-made billionaire, right? And so when he was on the debate stage, he's like, I'm not the only one bought and controlled here. I was like, oh, that reminds me a lot of Donald Trump. So he's kind of playing on that sentiment, right? And that's true. When you're not heavily reliant on your donors to campaign, and obviously you still want help from your donors, right? Because that's kind of like a sign of support from the American people, and you don't want to expend all of your own capital in order to run your campaign. But the fact that he's not beholden to all of these individual donors, the same that Trump was, right? Trump was in the same boat, right? He made his own money, right? So he couldn't be bought and controlled. And that's kind of Vivek, right? Self-made billionaire, serial entrepreneur, guy has a silver tongue, bro. Like, you do not want to be trapped on a debate stage with Vivek and not come prepared, bro, because he will destroy you, right? He's like Barack Obama, but not full of shit. Right? Sorry for the Barack Obama fans. I know he's hyper intelligent, hyper articulate, and to be quite honest with you, I like the proposals that he's making, right? I like the topics that he's focusing on, right? There was this whole thing about January 6th again on the stage, and he's like, bro, like, why are we talking about this, right? We got to move forward. Him and DeSantis actually, I think, brought it up, bro. Like, why are we focusing on January 6th again, right? Like, that's done. Let whatever's happening with Trump let him take care of that, right? Because he's the one being indicted for it. Like, we're here on the debate stage. He's not even here. Let's focus on other topics that are much more important. Right. And so I certainly like the issues that he's campaigning on, right? Because he wants to take care of the domestic issues that we're having here, right? Our strong economy, the the issues with the border, the issues with law enforcement and the increasing crime rate in democratic cities, like handling the failing school systems here in the United States, the stuff with the DOJ, especially the stuff with the Federal Reserve, right? He's very big on kind of overhauling the Federal Reserve, and he's spoken about specifically Bitcoin as, like, he's like, look, I'm not I want to stabilize the American dollar, but I'm not afraid if Bitcoin came in as a challenge to that currency. Right? He's like, because we need a hedge against something, right? And Bitcoin is one of those things, like we were speaking about earlier, that cannot be controlled. Because he's like, yo, like, bring on the competition, right? If the American people chose that, okay, we're gonna go the way of Bitcoin, then sure, right? He's not scared of competition. One of the things that I like that he spoke about, he didn't say it on this particular debate, but he spoke about it in one of the interviews that he was doing. He said something along the lines of, if you're afraid of competition, then you weren't very confident in the competence and effectiveness of your product to begin with. And I really like that, right? That really resonated with me, right? Because if you are building a solid product or service, right, that you are so confident in that people will go to you for that product or service, then you're going to welcome the competition, right? Because you're going to be like, yeah, sure, you can try and compete with me, but my shit is better than yours, right? And so that's one of the things that I liked about him. He's like, look, I'm all for stabilizing the US dollar, but yeah, bring on the competition, man. If people like Bitcoin, yeah, let them use Bitcoin. If Bitcoin happens to become the primary method of exchange in terms of like what people like to use for their currency, then so be it, right? And so that's one of the things that really resonated with me when I heard him speak about it, because I'm like, oh, this guy is a serial entrepreneur. He welcomes competition, right? And so as far as all of the things that I've heard from him, I certainly like where Vivek is coming from. And like I said, I don't care if he's Republican or Democrat, right? I like the things that he's campaigning for. Right? If it happened to be that it was Donald Trump and RFK, well, I mean, I like a lot of the stuff that RFK is campaigning for too. So then I would really have to consider my vote. Still probably would vote for Trump just because, as my guy. But I'm more of like, what are the issues that you're campaigning for that I actually care about, right? I don't care if you're red. I don't care if you're blue. I don't care if you're fucking smack dab in the middle campaigning as a moderate, right? Or as a classic libertarian. What are the issues that are you campaigning for? Do I care about them? That's what I'm going to vote for you for, right? And so, like Vivek, if he happens to be the Republican nominee, he will have my vote. If it's DeSantis, he'll have my vote, right? Because he's anti-CBDC. If it's Trump, he'll still have my vote. He'll get around, he'll come around. He's got NFTs. Eventually, he's gonna hold more crypto. he's going to come around. So that's kind of my
Well,
thoughts on the overall GOP primary that we had last Wednesday.
Jay, see, here's the flaw in the way that you're thinking, though, right? You're thinking that it's all about competency and who does the best job. That's not the way the real world works, man. No, but I truly do hope for that. I'm not even gonna lie, man. Overall, like in looking at it, I've seen the way that DeSantis has been, dealing with Florida, how their numbers have overall just been doing absolutely amazing. I want someone who is proven to be in the White House, right? I've seen that there. What was his name? Ramama Mashad or whatever. I don't know who the guy is. Ramaswamy. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I really don't know who he is. So I'm going to be taking a little bit of a devil's advocate here, and I'm going to be saying, hey, now, I don't know the guy, right? So maybe I'll just kind of watch from the sidelines for now,
I want to bring in our resident pro big government advocate and fan, Will Stevenson, real quick. And have you been paying attention to Vivek at all? Have you been paying attention to the DeSantis campaign? Have you noticed anything to see why Vivek would be front running DeSantis at this time, or do you have any insight on that?
You're asking a dude who doesn't like walking in shit if cow shit or horse shit or pig shit is better. That's what I think. I worked for the government for 8 years and 1 month, and while I don't regret a single bit of it, I learned a lot about the government in my time. And I don't think that they're all that crazy. Now, there's some cool figureheads, right? So Donald Trump, he was a fun guy. Vivek seems like he's a fun guy too. DeSantis is a good leader, but he doesn't have the zazz razzmatazz that Trump had, and that from the way it sounds that Vivek has. I didn't watch this debate, so I don't really know what was said or what happened in it. But as I'm scrolling through this article here that we got pulled up, one of my favorite, I kind of want to steer away from the political side a little bit and read some of this article. My favorite little blip here is that it says blockchain-based betting platforms like Polymarket and Manifold have thin legal standing in the United States, but their pitch is that they allow users to bet on practically anything. While the accuracy of prediction markets for measuring election odds is debatable, the tools still provide an interesting bellwether of public opinion. So this whole article is about two gambling websites throwing odds at who's gonna be the number one dude, and it's just kind of interesting. I'm picturing us having the same conversation about horses at a horse race as we watch everybody throw money at the bookies, trying to figure out who the hell's gonna win this race. Just to kind of take a step back and look at it through a glass window. And then the second bit is when South Korean scientists claim to have discovered the first room temperature superconductor in a pre-release research paper last month, a breakthrough that would mark one of the largest scientific leaps in a generation, a corner of the internet took to Polymarket and Manifold to suss out the fact from fiction. So these gambling websites are not only good for predicting political climate and the future of our country, but also they're figuring out, if South Korean scientists got the legit superconductors or not. That was my favorite part of this whole article. Political stuff all notwithstanding, whether it's Trump in office or Ramaswamy in office, I'm sure that most people's lives, other than gas prices and whether we're going to war or not, are going to more or less remain the same. That's my nihilistic opinion for the night. But I did want to point out those two super fun facts from this article here, that this whole basic article is just centered on some gambling websites and just kind of throwing some credibility and validity to the degens of the world gambling on different things. I kind of want to check these websites out.
Crypto, man. It's a little bit like crypto.
Yeah. Bro, that's what I'm saying. Ivan talks about this all the time. The reason why people are on one of the main use cases of crypto is because it is a degenerate gambler's paradise, bro. So it's not surprising. Yeah. It's not surprising. It's not surprising at all. Not one bit. Not one bit. Although I did want to make a comment on something that you said there, Will. DeSantis, he's a good leader. right? He's certainly articulate himself, competent,
Mhm.
but he doesn't have the charisma. He does not have the charisma.
It's
Right?
pronounced
That's
Zaz Razmataz.
the unfortunate, man. He can't get he can't get the crowd riled up, right? The way that a Donald
Yeah.
Trump can, or the way that I think Vivek can. Oh, and here's another thing that I've noticed, right? Out of all the candidates, right? It's Vivek and the Republican side, and then RFK and the Democrat side that are making their rounds on YouTube. Going on Joe Rogan, going on Tim Pool, going on I saw Vivek with Jordan Peterson. It's like, bro, this is the way you get a hold of the majority of the American people now, right? You have to make your rounds on social media, on YouTube, because that's how you're going to get a lot of eyes. Bro, it's free publicity. You don't have to you don't have to pay to be on YouTube, right? How many like YouTubers would and their massive audiences would love to have you on their show to discuss politics, right? Like how many average viewers does Jordan Peterson get? How many average live viewers does Tim Pool get? Right? In the tens of thousands. It blows the ratings of all of these legacy media outlets out of the water. So I think
That's where I've
the
seen
reason,
it before.
bro.
Yeah, it
That's
was Tim. Yeah, Ramaswamy was
Tim
on Pool, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Shit, that was years ago. I wonder, he's probably been on recently too. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Outstanding.
that's
Shout out to
absolutely
Tim
correct.
Pool for having some good ass guests on. You guys got to get Trump over there. I know you guys listen to the DGen Roundtable all the time over there at the Cass Castle, but get you some Trump on that.
I think the first Trump podcast would probably be with Rogan, but I want to do a quick pause real quick. I want to give a shout out to brothers, man. Hey, we appreciate the comments. Appreciate the support all day. Thank you so much, bud. We try to put on the best show that we can for everyone, so we definitely appreciate it. But yeah, Vivek is hustling, dude. Like the man is working hard. If there's one thing that this dude is doing out of everybody else, he is first off, he isn't taking any campaign donations, or if he is, it's a small amount. He's pretty much self-funded, just like Trump was in 2015. So, if you take a look at it in a lot of ways, Vivek right now in 2023 is where Trump was in 2015. You know what I'm saying? The same outsider mindset, the same come in and wreck house mindset. But I think Vivek would probably be more of a surgical it would be more of a surgical job as opposed to a bull in the china shop when it comes to Donald Trump. But Vivek is definitely coming onto the scene with some insane talking points that are absolutely required to be said, but that a lot of politicians are too afraid to say. He's coming out and saying stuff about, abolishing the FBI, abolishing other various federal programs and organizations and stuff like that. And it's, I know it's one thing to talk about it, but the man seems very passionate about it. And I think that's what's driving his support a lot. Plus, I cannot speak enough about how much this guy is hustling on every. I know I already said this, but I can't drive the point home enough. The dude is hustling. Billy, did you have any comments on what's going on right now with the current political climate in the GOP, or maybe even on the Democratic side? Could we see Newsom making a run coming up here? Is Biden getting phased out? What do you see on the political side?
Well, I know that Richard Hart is the Donald Trump of crypto. And when you have a charismatic leader, I don't think anybody can really match Trump's energy when it comes to, if he can somehow get through all the loopholes he needs to legally to still be able to run. I'm conceding after many years, but I think he's a powerhouse. And I think people want a good economy more than anything. People want money, the tax cuts, the stock market, they're going to blame Biden for the economy, and for the decisions of the Fed ultimately. So I think that's really going to be the deciding issue. And crypto has fed into that in some really cool ways so far. Of course, we know Trump's a big Ethereum holder, allegedly a couple $1 million worth. So, the NFTs and So to me, I've tried to put all my, moral whatever aside, and just the only issue I care about is crypto, and the market's doing good, for our livelihoods. So I think that it's kind of it's in the bag unless they can somehow prevent him from becoming the president again. But I don't really know how they could do that. They're working on it. So I don't really know much about the other candidates, but that's my take.
Yeah, Jay, I know that you watched the Tucker conversation. Did you? It looked to me for the first time that it looked like what everything that's going on with Trump was really starting to weigh on him a little bit. Did you get that sense too? Like he was more somber. He just seemed more like, okay, God, I got to deal with another indictment here. This is going on again. It finally seemed like it was starting to catch up to him. Did you get that sense at all, or no?
To be honest with you, bro, I get the complete opposite feel from the interview. It was like, oh yeah, I'm not even gonna waste my time jumping on a stage full of people who are losing to me by a significant degree. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna spend my time here with Tucker. Right? I'm gonna spend my time here with Tucker. I'm gonna break Andrew Tate's view record, right? Which he did. It used to be that the Andrew Tate interview with Tucker Carlson was the most watched interview online, and then he broke it, right? That interview with Donald Trump and Tucker Carlson, that broke the Tate record, right? And then he's on X, he's with Elon, like he's on Elon Musk's platform. It's like, who the hell cares about Fox News, bro? Right? You're part of the legacy media. You're the old guard. Nobody fucking cares. Right? Everybody's on Twitter Spaces. Everybody's watching Tucker Carlson on X. That's what they care about. So I got the completely opposite feeling from that, bro. He was like, he walked in there with a swagger. He didn't care that he wasn't part of the Fox News debate. He knew that he was blowing everybody out the water in terms of like the polls. So he's like, you're just having a fun conversation with Tucker, bro. Like that's the impression that I got during that interview with Trump and Tucker.
Man, I love Trump. He's just so funny with that. I got that same exact thing during 2016, where it's like you got these normal politicians, right? And then all of a sudden you get Trump out of left field coming in like like a bull in a china shop, smashing all the political sayings, right? Keywords and all that apart. And all of a sudden everyone's looking around like, what is going on? Help. And then you get Hillary Clinton and that whole deal. And oh man, I love how he's making politics fun again, quite frankly.
That's
because whenever he gets into a debate with anybody, he just starts making memes after memes. And it's just so much fun to watch. I'm not even gonna lie.
But I will say one of the things that I like about Vivek, right? We've kind of made comparisons between him and Trump, and to an extent, right? He's like Obama, and to an extent, right? He's the brown guy. He's of Indian descent, but he's not an immigrant, right? He's a U.S. citizen. I'm pretty sure he was born here. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to run as president. But he's similar to Obama in that he's dark skinned, and then he's very articulate. Similar to Trump in the fact that he's a billionaire. But here's the thing that I really like about Vivek, right? He's a self-made billionaire. He came up poor, right? So he's self-made, came up poor, so he can empathize with Americans a lot more, right? Because he came from the bottom. He did everything himself, right? He made his millions and billions of dollars himself. He didn't come from daddy's money or anything like that. And so like I think he has all of these different attributes that would make for a pretty damn good candidate. Even if he would lose this nomination, right, to Trump or to DeSantis or to whoever, I think if he decided to keep pursuing a political career, I think he has a pretty damn bright future, right? Because he's a sharp guy, man. He's a sharp guy, and if you get him on, like, let's say Rogan does entertain a debate where he's the one moderating, right? And it's a long form debate. Oh, it's gonna be over. It's gonna be over, right? You're not gonna be able to stand on stage with that guy, come unprepared, and have like 1 minute segments where they cut you off after you've gone over the time limit, right? Where you're actually able to have long form discussion about very important topics and issues. Like you're not going to be able to hold a candle to that guy, right? So like not him. So yeah, I think he has a bright future. If he doesn't get the nomination, try again next time, bro. I think you have a bright future if you decide to pursue this avenue. And you're pro crypto, so you got my vote.
Hey, I got a question. So has anybody really, aside from RFK, has anybody really been hearing anything on the Democratic side? Or is that not just, has that just not revved up yet?
I think Newsom.
Well, yeah,
probably.
Newsom's like being a cheerleader for Biden. I think the big thing right now is what the sentiment is that Biden is going to run again, but I don't think the DNC and the people that are in the the high positions in the Democratic Party really want him to run again.
Newsom has destroyed California like crazy, man. Like, what is his opinion? Nobody cares.
Yeah,
Biden is probably asleep. He's
like,
not
what are you
even
going to
be
run
awake.
on, bro? What are you going to run on? If Newsom did decide to run, I'm handsome. Okay. Because that's all he got going for you, bro. Your state is a mess, bro.
All the soccer
Your
moms, I
state
guess.
sucks.
I don't know. Dude,
Yeah,
I mean, so much like attention on the Republican side right now. Like, there's a lot of attention from different people. You know what I mean? So I think that obviously it's going to be Republican in the next election. It's just all depending on who at this point, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, all the attention's on the Republican side because we have a Democratic incumbent president right now. Granted, dude's in his 80s. We don't even know if he's fully mentally there. But nonetheless, we still have a Democrat that is the incumbent that right now is planning to seek re-election. And as far as Newsom, I'm going to disagree with the guy's politics, but he is younger. You know what I'm saying? He is more polished. He went on the Sean Hannity program, so he had the gall, the stones to really go out there and debate like Sean Hannity, and he's not afraid to go out there and talk to people. But he is definitely carrying Joe Biden's water right now. That's pretty evident. But outside of those two, you got RFK, who's he's running. He's sort of running as a lone wolf in the Democratic Party. It'd be interesting to see what happens there. The reason why you see that is because, it was the same way in 2020. There wasn't much focus on the Republican side, and it was all on the Democratic side because Trump was the incumbent at the time. So it's only because of that. It will be interesting to see if Biden does decide to run or if he is being phased out or whatever, whatever's going on behind the scenes. With all the stories that are coming out and stuff. So we'll have to end up seeing that. But any final?
Is Kamala running?
I don't know. As of now, I think it's still Biden Harris for 2024 until that gets changed. I don't know. You can listen to other commentators and stuff like that. They might have their own opinions. But as of right now, it's not like Kamala's running a presidential exploratory committee or anything like that. So I think as it sits right now, it's still Biden Harris for 2024 until unless Biden decides not to run. So.
Okay.
But any final comments before we transition to the third article of the evening? Nope.
No, sir.
All right, let's go ahead and transition over. All right. Third article of the evening. Let me drop that, pull this up. All right. The Biden administration unveils new cryptocurrency tax reporting rules. Hey, Will, you sort of brought this to the team. Did you want to go ahead and give your initial feedback, what your thoughts are on this article? Did you have time to put something together to bring some analysis forward?
I did indeed, and I got something, and it's super duper insightful, and it's fuck taxes, fuck all this regulation, and fuck all that shit.
I 100% agree. Let's go.
Are we? I guess we're already out of the. Well, wait, we're not monetized yet, so what the fuck do we care? Hell yeah. This article is basically just a whole bunch of the same thing. They want to tax crypto. These things would theoretically come into play in, I think, 24, 25. I want to say. is what was mentioned in the somewhere in the article. I can't find it right now, but oh yeah, 25, 26 for the tax filing season. But they just want to bring more money in through taxes. And so essentially what it is the Treasury and the State Department, they want to force exchanges to fork over a shit ton of information to the IRS, so that way the IRS can make sure that people pay their taxes fair and that there's no more tax evasion and blah-de-da-de-da. They're estimating that the new rules could bring in close to $28 billion over a decade. So fuck these guys taking all our gains, ruining our fun time. Like I was talking to a friend of mine earlier on the phone today about this stuff, and it reminds me of, like, you know, let's say you're walking down the street and you see like a kid and he's got like a lemonade stand, and so you go over and you have some of the lemonade, and it turns out it's like the best lemonade that you've ever tasted in your whole fucking life, and you're like, holy shit, this is life-changing lemonade. And then like you come back a week later and he's got like a city inspector there, and he's like, oh yeah, you're using like BPA plastic cups or whatever the fuck, or like your napkins have like smudges on them or some shit, and so we're gonna have to shut you down until you well, maybe not shut you down, but we're gonna have to take some of your revenue, and also you're gonna have to abide by all these codes and things. And then the lemonade stand goes away because it's fucking shitty, and the government damn stepped in. Now it's not going to be the same with all this regulation and shit. All that's going to turn out is we're just going to end up forking over more money to good old Uncle Sam. But yeah, man, the United States is just getting more and more tax grabby, and it's making me sad. And my Cool Kids Club is not staying as Cool Kids Club as it was in the beginning. But you know, this is to be expected, and so figure out ways to avoid taxes by starting businesses, forming LLCs, buying real estate, making other businesses and companies offshore and all that crap. But yeah, that's essentially the meat and potatoes of this article. And also they're coming out with a new form, a 1099 DA, to help the taxpayers determine if they owe taxes from all their gains. So again, this is all theoretical. Nothing's been passed yet. It's not like a solid thing that's happening, but this is what Reuters is talking about in this article, is this whole taxes for crypto people. So
what really drew my attention, there's one piece in the article that sort of flew a red flag up for me. I'm reading about halfway down. It said it also extended reporting requirements for certain cash transactions of more than $10,000 to digital assets. So
yes.
As of right now, if you walk into a casino, you know what I'm saying, and you win the a $10,000 amount or whatever, that's going to trigger a cash transaction report or something like that. And if you deposit a certain amount of money into the bank account, it's going to do the same thing. And those transactions get reported, and it's maintained on ledgers and stuff like that. It can be used down the road against you in investigations and all different sorts of stuff. So that's interesting. That's, how that sounds right there is if you deposit $10,000 into your Coinbase One or to your Kraken account or something like that, that it's going to trigger that as well, which
yep.
I'm not a fan of that at all. That's definitely not something that I'm a fan of. Now, of course, I share the same tax sentiment as you do, but I also, I understand that, hey, look, we live in America. The only thing that's guaranteed is going to be death and taxes. Like, we're going to have to pay taxes. It's just a fact of life. It sucks. It's just, it's going to happen. So, at some point, as adoption continues to roll on and as regulation comes in and regulation paves the way for more adoption, then, of course, there's going to be the tax side. But I know in the article, that one thing stuck out to me was that $10,000 reporting requirement on digital assets. Anybody else on the panel get a chance to read it? Have any insight on the article?
Bro,
You know what that tells me right there, what you just said? The whole $10,000 deal. It's like, you are not important unless you have an amount of money. How much more government control, like they're making it so obvious that they're trying to control people. It's like, if you are able to move around $10,000 or more, like, we're going to start watching you, dude. It's government is so dumb, man. They shouldn't
I
be
mean, well,
controlling. They should be trying to help out the people.
that goes on right now. I don't know if people know this. I know this for a fact. If you go into a bank right now and you deposit $10,000 or more, there's stuff going on behind the scenes where that's marked. And that can be used on a FinCEN report, or it can be used on, some sort of report out there for enforcement purposes, for administrative purposes. Like, I don't know if people know this. Like, if you deposit $10,000 or more, red flags go off.
Yes, sir.
And Jay,
they need to get.
That's the
People need to get the hell away. Government needs to get the hell out of our lives. That's what I got to say.
Billy, go ahead,
The government's
that's like, I think that's the threshold for the amount of cash you can step on a plane with too, and also over state lines. Pretty sure. This reminds me of the cannabis industry, as it's something that's highly controversial and unregulated, but the government, still wants their cut from it. I think some of it, is reminiscent of that emerging, and eventually they'll sort it all out. But it's so lucrative, they want to squeeze all the money they can from it.
So there's an interesting thing with that $10,000 number you had mentioned, getting on planes. Also, civil asset forfeiture. So if you're pulled over by the cops and for whatever reason you happen to have a stack sitting on the seat next to you, boom, that's taken away. That's evidence. Like, people carrying around that amount of cash, police automatically seize it. That's just a rule of well, not a rule of the road, but just a procedure that law enforcement does. If you have over 10,000 cash, like what they were saying on the plane, like, this shit's all sorts of fucked up, man. That's all I got on that.
Bro, here's the thing. So I read a few versions of this article, right? I read the one that Will sent by Reuters. I also read the one that was initially reported by CoinDesk. And the thing is, right? So if you want centralized exchanges to report to the federal government in terms of like your customers' information for tax purposes, right? I mean, they KYC. So it's kind of part and parcel with centralized exchanges, right? Even the whole $10,000, when if you transact an amount that's $10,000 or greater, that's going to trigger some flags for the federal government. I'm like, okay, it's kind of like baked into the cake, right? But what was really interesting was that this proposal extended to some decentralized exchanges, bro. How in the hell do you manage that if you're a decentralized exchange? Right? I mean, the spirit of decentralization means that you do not track your customers' information. And so how do you, as the federal government, go to like a decentralized exchange or a decentralized app company and tell and say to them, hey, we're gonna take we need your users information for tax purposes, right? It's like it defeats the spirit of being decentralized, right? So like how are you going to be able to manage that? Especially even like, for example, let's take PulseX for example, right? It's run by the validators. Like who are you gonna go to, bro? Like you're gonna knock on the validators' doors for what? For like their transaction info? Like that's fucking ridiculous, right? How are you gonna be able to manage that? The answer is you're not gonna be able to fucking do that, bro. Right? If an entity is sufficiently decentralized, like there are no admin keys, who are you like where are you gonna get this information from? Right? A few weeks ago, we were talking about, me and Brendan were talking about this shit. It was so fucking hilarious, bro. They were like, if one of the proposals, right, was that if you are a majority holder of, like, let's say an asset, they're gonna hold you liable for like to hold like some kind of majority responsibility because you hold a large portion of that asset. And you're like just because I'm heavily invested in this asset, you're going to make me responsible for the whole project or company or whatever, right? It's fucking ridiculous. Like, how do you extend that law to decentralized platforms or entities? This doesn't make sense.
Could you
Well, so
imagine
it's
what
kind
that
of
would do to the real estate market? That'd be scary. You
man.
get somebody with a lot of buildings, and all of a sudden it's like somebody has a really bad apartment building go wrong or something, a lot of crime, and they look over to the person who has just a lot of houses. Like, what the? That doesn't make any sense. They just randomly show up at Utah, whatever. Yeah, you have like over 1 million homes or whatever. You're kind of a majority in the U.S. There was this one guy over in New York who did this one thing, and there's a lot of bad stuff that happened over there. So we're taking you to prison. What? What is that?
Well, what's also shit about this whole thing is what they're like. So they've already got KYC. So boom, they've got the onboard and off. They've got the on ramp and off ramp information for everybody. And you know what else they have access to? They have access to the blockchain, right? So they if they wanted to put in the effort, and if they wanted to take care of all this crap, then they could go and do the damn work themselves instead of putting the impetus on the company that's out here providing a service, making the world a better place, like giving people things that they want, right? Instead of doing that and, like, you know, doing the damn work themselves, they're taking the onus and they're putting it on a whole bunch of people who already got a bunch of shit on their plate, right? So not reasonably, it's probably not a whole lot of work, whatever. But the principle of the idea is that, like, the government has access to all of this information because they have all the KYC info and because they have the blockchain, which is free for fucking everyone. Like Nate was saying earlier, like, if the government is going to go and try and do something shady, everyone will know about it because blockchain's transparent to everyone. So it's just like, if you've got KYC, you've got all you need is the on ramps and the off ramps. You don't need to know every fucking transaction. You don't need to know if you want to find it, spend the money your damn self, do the research your damn self. Don't go about making it more difficult for the rest of the world to, like, do the thing that they're already doing. That's my 2 cents.
Here's the thing about that, Will, too. When you look at that, as a government, you literally cannot you can't have blockchain being on all your financials, right? You can't be doing anything with cryptocurrency because blockchain shows what's going on, exactly what you said, right? But the other side of that is, this is why I laugh so hard when everyone's like, oh, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, it's that type of money that you really can't follow or whatever, and it's only for illegal stuff. Like, no, you literally can't do crime with Bitcoin because of blockchain. The second anything bad happens, you just follow the trail all the way back to exactly who the person was. It's so easy and transparent. I don't know. It kills me sometimes when people are sitting there thinking, oh yeah, it's all for all that illegal drug stuff and crime and blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. It is the exact opposite. You should be looking at your government to be using cryptocurrencies, actually, because then you can see where the money's really going.
Bro, you know, Will, you know why they shift the onus of responsibility to the consumer and to the companies and to the developers? It's because it is fucking difficult. If you actually go through the proposal, right, and look at the types of transactions that they want you to keep track of, I'm like, bro, are you serious? Like, you want me to keep track of every single freaking transaction of, like, what do you want me to do? Do you also want, like, the fees that I paid in gas, right? Like the pennies that I paid for when I sign a contract? It's like what are we talking about here? That's the reason why they shift the owner's responsibility onto the consumer, because they know that keeping track of all these fucking transactions is ridiculous, right? And it's difficult work. And so if you make a mistake reporting, they can point at you and say, you're a criminal. You owe us. You're liable for X amount of X amount of dollars because you didn't report this one transaction here. It's like, bro, come on, man. Like you said, you have the on-ramp and the off-ramp information because you have to have those through a centralized exchange for the most part, right?
Yeah.
And so you have all the fucking information you need. Why are you making it so damn difficult for the consumers?
Yeah,
and the reason why is
extra
they
steps.
want to make your life difficult, right? Shout out Tornado Cash, man. Bring back Tornado Cash, damn it.
Yep. There's some dudes on Pulse Chain, I think, that are doing a similar thing to Tornado Cash, but hopefully they're doing it better. I think the Walrus is talking about that. I'll have to rewatch that stream. But somebody somewhere mentioned that. Maybe perhaps it was on a Sami video, but I think that somebody's doing some sort of Tornado Cash similar.
You can ask Walrus in our Telegram chat. I mean, he's
Yeah, I
in
guess I
there.
could.
So-
Yeah, he's right there.
Yeah, just ask him.
Yeah, but like you're absolutely fucking right, Jay. It's like they're going to get you. They're going to fuck you on the monetary side in that they're going to take your money, and then they're going to fuck you on the reporting side in that if you make a mistake, then it's like, aha, fucking now we got you again. It's what's the man? It's like Big Brother's always watching, but he's watching with like a stink eye, and he's just waiting for you to fucking slip up so he can get you again and get you again. You know, like
Well,
this is why. Oh, this is why I like Andrew Henderson so much, Nomad Capitalist and Aaron Clary, and you know, dudes like the Tate brothers and people that talk about like get out of the United States, go where you're treated well, right? Like go to Puerto Rico, go to Colombia, go to fuck, what's that one right off the coast of Spain? Damn it, I can't think of the name of it. But like get out of the States. If the States is fucking you with taxes, then like find a better place to be. Like there's only so much loyalty that I have for the dirt that I stand on, right? Like if I'm the battered housewife that keeps coming back to the abusive husband, like what kind of idiot am I? Like what kind of idiot am I if I just keep coming back to this place that keeps fucking me over and over, especially financially? It's like money is one of the great tools by which you can, you know, control the course that your life goes. And if they're just gonna like take upwards of 40% of it and then make it difficult on you and make it difficult on everyone else, it's just I don't know what the government expects from this. If they expect a bunch of compliance, if they expect a bunch of assholes like me to leave, or what their end goal result is. But like, man, are they making the United States a hostile place to be?
I'll tell you exactly what their goal is because it's right here in the article. So I'm reading verbatim from the article. Under the proposal, the definition of a broker would include both centralized and decentralized digital asset platforms, crypto payment processors, and other online wallets where users store digital assets. The rule would cover cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ether, as well as NFTs. Brokers would need to send the forms to both the IRS and digital asset holders with assistance for their tax preparation. That's exactly what it is right there. It's about halfway down the article. It defines what a broker is, and then the next line after defining what a broker is, it says brokers would need to send the forms to both the IRS and the digital asset holders.
God damn it, man!
So that's exactly what it would be looking to do right there.
You know, Biden proposed to take out the capital loss provisions for cryptocurrency. So not only do you want us to pay upwards of 30% on short-term cap gains, but you're not allowing us to take any capital losses either. Like, bro, you're a scumbag, bro. Like, you're a scumbag.
Our gains, your losses, man.
Yeah, it's like Uncle Sam tries to take, like, Uncle Sam will have his hands in your pocket first, and he's certainly going to have his hands in your pocket last. This is so ridiculous, bro. It's like, how are you going to encourage people to move up the financial ladder if you're only going to take more money from them that you didn't help to accumulate, right? Like especially if you're an entrepreneur, like Uncle Sam didn't help you with the labor. He's not the one taking the risk. He's not doing the marketing. He's not interfacing with the customers. He's not having to like lose sleep just in case he's not making any money that month. Right? It's like you're the one taking all of the risk, doing all of the labor, doing all of the work to make your business grow. And then Uncle Sam comes in at the end. And he's like, "Sorry, man, I'm going to take 30% of your money from taxes, right? And then I'm also going to factor in state tax, federal tax, your short-term capital gains tax, your long-term capital gains tax, and then on top of that, also you can't take any capital losses. And also we're going to reduce the amount of tax provisions that are given to you if you're an entrepreneur, right? It's like, bro, you're a scumbag, man. Like, get the hell
what
out.
it is? I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. Think of it this way. Reframe your mind. Taxes are for government to try and hold down the people and gain control, as shackles are to a slave, right? And then what do you have on those shackles? You got those like iron balls, right? What do you think taxes are? Every single time, like, please tell me that I am completely wrong in that, and the way that taxes tend to be. that, oh no, I'm just silly for thinking that.
I'll tell you, you're completely wrong, Nate. So taxes, like, I'll say it. So I mean, look, I hate taxes too. I hate paying more taxes than I have to. Taxes at the end of the day, it's supposed to go to paying for essential, common good things. Fire departments, police departments, military, stuff like that. So
those
a little bit of taxes.
And what we do need, right? So those
yes. So, and that's why I'm saying, so to say taxes all in all are, a chain, it's not necessarily that. It's the excessive taxation. It's the, how else are we going to pay for, 3 to 4 rounds of stimulus checks plus enhanced unemployment plus all the entitlements through Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid that are going on in the world? If you're not going to raise taxes, which, that's a presidential death wish right now. If you were to come out and say, all right, we're raising taxes on everyone. No, the way you do that is to backdoor every single little investment strategy that you can find to try to cut little, to try to pull pennies here and pennies there and pennies all around. The fact of the matter is, it's just that our government has been kicking this ball down the road for far too long now, to the point to where, it's just, it's getting completely asinine. But yeah, I'll say I don't, while I agree with the sentiment of what you're saying, I couldn't agree with what you were saying there all in all. So, but
I think, Josh, you're describing about 2% or less of what all taxes like end up paying. And this is just my uninformed opinion, right? Because there is no like tracking system that tells us like the receipts of where our money spent goes to. Like, it's man, fuck. I don't want to go on another tirade. I think you're describing an anomalously small portion of like what taxes are actually used for. But I agree with your sentiment. Like, yeah, like somebody has to pay for the police, somebody has to pay for the firefighters, somebody has to pay for the roads, right? Now, is that what taxes should be used for? Yeah. Is that what they're used for? Maybe. Probably not.
But
though, my best
you know
guess.
what's awesome? What's
that?
Is we have dollar cost crypto coming up on Wednesday, and we can talk to them a little bit about taxes.
Oh man, yeah.
And saying that, let's go ahead and let's go ahead and transition to closing out. So Billy, I want to kick it over to you first. Where can the people find you? Do you have anything coming up around the horizon? And where they can whatever you want to plug, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm over at Twitter at WillieBelong33. Just trying to keep up with what's happening in the RH community on the daily. There's a lot going on, so look out for some reposts over there. One thing that I was talking last night on a stream with Crypto Boogie about is if you guys have any Red Pill Lion NFTs, we can actually stake those, and I had forgotten that, but we're going to look into doing that. So just, staying on top of the news and enjoying it. So I hope you guys have a good night.
Will, what's up, man? Go ahead.
Oh shit, my bad. I didn't realize. Fuck. I'm heated about taxes now. You can find me on Instagram at will.stevenson.iii, or well, fuck, all my socials are linked down in the description below, but Instagram's where I spend most of my time. Fucking follow me and shoot me a DM, try and sell me something. That's my favorite thing, is when scammers try and sell me something. So I try and run them up the flagpole for as long as possible and before they lose interest. But hit me up on Instagram, or shoot me a message on Telegram if you want me to swing by wherever you're at in the United States. Shoot me your location. I travel a lot, so I'm always passing through all sorts of areas, all the way from Colebrook, New Hampshire, down to Rapid City, South Dakota, all the way to Dallas, Texas, to Las Vegas, everywhere, man. I'm all over the place. So if you want me to swing by and just hang out, drink a beer, fucking hang out by a campfire, whatever the hell, let's do it. If you want to be a part of an interview for DR or the DGen Roundtable like community stuff, then hit me up as well. Same sort of thing. That's all I got going on. Mr. Nate.
Hey, yeah. So Hey man, I'm just working, just continually trying to get that dry powder up and everything. I'm not gonna lie, like, yeah, get into our Telegram group. There's a lot of good information going on in there. We just recently had a rug pull, unfortunately, with a DGen play with, what was it, SBF Billy. Basically just got in there, and the second they launched, it was like, nope, gone, poof, bye. It's like, sometimes you get into these things, sometimes they're sour apples and all that, but at least you have the chance to do kind of what it is that I did with the Hex Orange address. I'm up and currently sold at it was about a 2.5, I would say, X. So that's a good thing for me, right? Got some more pulse on that one. Yeah. But yeah, so lots of other things going on. Right now we're starting to dive down to the GameFi as well as the specific strategies. Jeff Tracker and I will be going through the adventures of Jeff Tracker and Nate, I guess. But yeah, we've just got done going through all the ecosystems, right? Specifically like how to LP on them and all, farm and all that. Now we're gonna have specific strategies you can use. That video will be coming out soon enough. And then we're going to be moving on into GameFi, specifically looking at things. We've also, Tracker and I have been talking about doing maybe a little bit of conspiracy theory type of series that is going to be kind of interesting. And it'll all be like relating to crypto and how it is that you can sort of basically just become financially free while, the evil powers of the Illuminati are out to get you, right? So, yeah, that's what I got going on. Just lots of working, man. Lots of things happening.
Nate, are you the one that's doing the interview with Zenith and Antoine? I saw something about that in some chat somewhere. Is that a thing that's happening?
No. With Zenith, I think that was Jeff, if I remember correctly.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah, I saw something floating around in one of the chats. I just wanted to ask.
Oh no. That was you guys, Josh. Whatever. Well, we'll iron it out later.
All right. Cool beans.
I'll cover it after Jay. Jay, go ahead.
Yes, my friends, thank you as always for spending a little bit of your time here with us at the DGen Roundtable. We know that time is your most valuable asset, so we do appreciate that you spend some of that here with us. You can find me on social media. Everything will be at the link below, but on Instagram at agent_J Schroth, on Twitter at _P90Hex. And as far as what I've got coming up, stay tuned because we've got quite a few things coming up over the next few days here, and it's going to be pretty exciting, right? We're trying to bring as much value to you guys as possible as kind of a big thank you for spending that time with us here, and so look forward to it, man, because we got a lot of awesome guests lined up, and we're gonna keep producing the content, right? We're gonna keep building this momentum, and we're gonna be with you all throughout the bull cycle, and then even when the next bear market hits. All right, so yeah, thank you again, guys, for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
So Tuesday night, we are going to be having a live sub reunion. It's going to be myself. It's going to be Dace, as well as Zenith, Nate the Great, and Antoine. We're going to be doing a little DR community chat. It's just going to be an opportunity for those guys to just speak about what they think is going on, the cool stuff that we got going on in the community and all that sorts of stuff. So we're going to invite everybody to come and watch that. It's going to be a little DR insights that we got planned. Wednesday night, we're going to have Dollar Cost Crypto live in studio with us, 8:00 p.m. Make sure you guys are here for that one. That one's going to be fire. We can't wait. We got a lot of questions and a lot of good content that we're going to be covering with him. So we got Dollar Cost Crypto coming up on Wednesday, and then the following Wednesday, we're going to have Rags to Riches as well. Rags to Riches is going to be with us next Wednesday as well. So we got a lot of different things coming around, pipe, as well as some other things that we're not going to really talk about necessarily right now, but we got some cool stuff coming around the way for you guys. So definitely stay tuned. If you guys haven't already, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you guys comment and subscribe on the video if you could. If you guys stayed here and watched this with us live, we thank you so much for that. If you guys caught this on the replay, come back with us Wednesday night at 8:00 with DCC. Make sure you guys catch that live. Check down in the description. You guys will find our Telegram. Make sure you join our Telegram, as well as join us on all of our social medias. With that being said, we thank you guys so much. We will see you back here Tuesday night at 8:00 for the live sub reunion, and then we will be back here Wednesday at 8 o'clock with Dollar Cost Crypto. So with that being said, thank you guys again so much. Everybody have a great night. Until next time, have a good one.